You can say it this time.
What do I say? Are we starting?
Yep.
Are we on? Hello.
You don't know how to start it?
I don't know. I don't listen to podcasts, but hello.
It's a podcast. This is our fifth one.
Is it our fifth one?
It's our fifth one. You know how to start it by now, I'm sure.
Welcome to
You want to do the intro?
The Engineer and the Girl.
You can do the intro.
What's the intro?
Oh, you got to make one.
I didn't know.
Do it live.
Oh, well, hello, everyone. Welcome to The Engineer.
Shut up. 3, 2, 1.
Hey, it's a podcast.
No. All right.
What am I supposed to say? You start it.
It's a podcast.
That's what I said.
We got our act together.
We do not, obviously.
It's not getting easier, I'll tell you that.
No, the setup is very intense. It's kind of stressful watching you set up.
It's that's called someone who doesn't know what they're doing and just mess around with all these audio levels. You know, I get it done. I know a little bit about everything.
Yeah. Which
is not great.
Jack of all trades, master of some.
So back to what you said in the car.
No.
What did you ask me?
I said.
So you said something.
I said, do you think white people squint more?
And I laughed, obviously, and I said, save it. I don't want to talk about it. And we can just save it. We're recording in a few minutes. Save it. And because the reason I said save is because what you said after that, in part, because you said because light is more attracted to white people.
Let me just give a little bit of backstory.
Actually, let me give more backstory.
Yeah,
You're white.
Yeah.
I'm black, and somehow our kid is Puerto Rican.
Yeah. So I'll give some backstory. First of all, we were driving the car, and I was squinting a lot. I could barely see from the sun. And then I remember we were looking through pictures of a day when we were out at an overlook. And in the pictures, the sun is shining. Your eyes are wide open. The boys' eyes are wide open. Everyone looks happy. And I look like my eyes are closed. I'm squinting so much. That's part of what made me think about that. And then I was remembering this kindergarten experiment we did where they made us go outside into the courtyard with different colored pieces of paper. And it was to see how the light reacts to the different colors.
Yeah.
And black absorbed more, but white was more reflective.
Yeah.
So then I was am I squinting more because I'm so pale and white that the light is reflecting into my eyeballs more?
I feel bad because I originally thought, what a dummy. Well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And normally that wouldn't make sense because, your eyes are receiving the light from an external source. It's like your skin should, at a glance, you'd say, oh, your skin. Well, you remember the football players with the black under their eyes.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I just remembered. That, of course, some of the sun is reflecting into your eyes from your own skin.
So I'm onto something. That's probably why because you guys hardly ever are squinting. And I am my eyes are practically closed all the time. I'm squinting so much I can't see.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I was actually pretty smart and you were making fun of me.
All right. Well, I did make fun of you. I said save it because I was saving the making fun of you for the podcast.
Yeah.
But then I thought for a second.
And I was onto something. And, it'd be nice if we had looked up some of the science behind that.
Thinking will ruin a podcast every time. I should have just harangued you for it and it would have been funnier.
Yeah.
What you did say was that the sun is more attracted to white people.
That's not what I said.
Which also sounds weird.
I said the sun reflects more off of white people.
Okay. This is a judgment-free zone, just like Panera Bread, just like Planet Fitness.
Planet Fitness, yes.
Panera Bread is definitely getting a lot.
But let's talk a little bit about what happened today. Why we were in the car. Where were we coming from?
Chili's, Longhorn.
Yes, and what happened to you? We got back, so we're doing this later in the day than we expected because we had to sit in the parking lot for so long.
See, now I wouldn't even consider this a podcast topic because it's something that happens to everybody all the time.
I am constantly being mocked for my forgetfulness, and you lost your wallet from the table to the car.
Well, not from the table. I left it at the table. It's not like it fell out my pocket. I left it at the table.
You weren't sure you left it at the table. You were searching the car. You went back in. We went back out. I was looking under cars.
I mean, it's a dumb...
digging through craziness. Look, you looked in the box of food. There was a possibility you put it in the leftover box.
You told me to look in the box of food. I was so humbled and blown away by the fact that never happens to me. I never do stuff like that. The last time I locked my keys in the car even was when we were in North Dakota, like before we were married. Like, it just doesn't happen. And yeah, that was a humbling moment.
But it can happen to anybody.
Well, at different rates. I do it every 10 or 12 years.
So crucified every time I can't find my keys.
And you know what?
Or my phone.
I apologize for that. I apologize for that for sure. But you also don't lock the doors when you leave and stuff like that. I mean...
Because we have all these smart locks. Okay, see, these are all... You keep trying to make me look dumb.
You brought it up.
Okay, you put in the smart locks, and originally they would lock themselves when you close the door behind you. And then you changed it, but I didn't know you changed it. So I kept thinking that they were going to lock themselves. I got used to them locking themselves.
Yeah.
And then I didn't lock the door.
Good deflection. This is what people do. Is they turn it around and they don't take responsibility. You saw I took responsibility for my stupidity.
But that's why I got used to it, because I always lock the door. And then conversely, so the upstairs doors, you say I never lock. And then I always turn the lock on the basement door, and you keep yelling at me for locking that door.
It's weird. You're
maybe if we just had standard issue locks, I could be more consistent.
If we had standard issue locks, you'd lock yourself out. So, listen. We're not going to be, we don't need to deflect. The reason why it never matters. See, that's a guy thing. In our relationship, you do all the things that guys are blamed for doing, I'm
not deflecting. I'm explaining.
Not only are you deflecting, but you're also giving the reasons why you did something.
I'm explaining why it happened.
I mean, there's reasons why okay, so let's get back to the wallet thing, because none of this is interesting. It's just a couple's argument. I left my wallet because I was so worked up from being irritated about the service at Longhorn. It was a bad time. We saw our waiter basically twice.
He took our order, he brought us our food, and he gave us our check, and we never saw him in between those.
Yeah, and that was like 40 minutes between getting the food and the check.
We had no condiments.
Yeah.
We got no refills, so we were thirsty and our food was dry.
It was a bad time.
Yeah.
I was so worked up. I was writing a review in real time. Now, I'm not a mean review writer. Like, most people just write reviews when they want to gripe. I don't do that. I review places with flavor, and I never give 1 stars. But I was so worked up that I had to publicly say something. So I was typing that the whole second half of being there. We were like sucking on the ice on our water. We were parched. Mm-hmm. My steak was overcooked.
Which you always think they are.
What?
Side note.
What?
You always order steak whenever you go out to eat, and you never like it, but you continue to order steak.
It's hard to get
I really wondered if maybe you've thought of the possibility that you just don't like steak. Because you never like it. It's never cooked correctly.
I think the problem is I can't routinely afford the caliber of steak I like.
But you've never gotten a steak you liked.
I absolutely have.
Where?
I can't remember every steak I've gotten. I keep trying because steaks are a toss-up. I'm always on the search for the good steak. You never know. It could come from a chain restaurant. It could come from somewhere super fancy. So I will keep trying, and it's fine to be disappointed. This is my message to you, children of the world. This is a family-friendly podcast. Not a curse has been uttered. I expect children to listen to this as well as adults. I'll be upset if they don't. Don't stop trying. If you're disappointed, if life keeps disappointing you, keep banging your head against life until it caves in and gives you the sweet nougat within. I'll take every bad steak if once a year I get a fantastic steak.
Is it worth it? Like, you like that good steak is so good that it's worth all the bad steaks?
It's not a matter of worth it. I'm from a small town in Kansas. I'm a meat and potatoes boy. I grew up in a small town in Kansas. So just give me some meat. I'll put some A1 on it, which I don't morally agree with, because if it's a good steak, I would never put anything on it. But if it's bad steak, give me some A1. I'll even like put potato, like when you shovel potatoes onto the same bite as the meat. I do that because meat is meat. And from being married to me years ago that there was a time when I would not accept a single meal without meat in it.
Has that changed?
It was a travesty. I don't care anymore.
No, that's good to know.
So this is the review I wrote.
Let me read it.
Oh, I want to read it to you.
I want to read it in your voice for the people.
Well, okay.
I'll do it. Let's see.
Well,
oh my word! It's like
it's not the longest review I've ever written.
It's Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 paragraphs.
Spacing and punctuation is just as important as diction. Carry on.
The service was slow, for sure, and the wait staff seemed stretched thin. And for a steakhouse, they missed medium on my steak by more than a few degrees. But I'd argue that isn't what's important. I wanted some steak sauce to drown my overcooked steak in the second it came, but it took over 30 minutes to see my server again. During those 30 minutes, I realized that the more overcooked my steak and the less flavorful, the quicker my body will break down the nutrients. Instead of enjoying my food coma, I need to get these calories down my neck and get back to tending the fields. Thank you, Longhorn Steakhouse.
Thank you, Longhorn Steakhouse.
Sure. Did I hope for a chance to get a single drink refill before the day was over? Of course. But as my family sits here now, desperately slurping at the ice in our glasses to ease our parched throats, I again reach clarity. It is not our gluttony that drives us to moisture like cattle in the dells. Do not the nomads of the East sojourn for the fortnight of eves with naught but skin flask of aged saliva and a thimble of rice whiskey? Thank you, Longhorn Steakhouse.
Thank you, Longhorn Steakhouse.
Curse our Western opulence. Hang our needs for flavor, passion, and reward when the sun rises on my descendants, laying on their manicured oasis of tended land among the arid waste left by the fattened masses. May they say of me, he was first. Longhorn toughened him. Longhorn broke him and rebuilt him better. All praise Longhorn, the breaker of souls. All praise Longhorn, the breaker of men, and the
I forget what I wrote. Desecrator, maybe?
Desecrator might have been what he meant. I'm sorry. The breaker of men and the desecrator of cattle. The bread is pretty good, though, so I'll give them a star for that.
2 stars. I don't give 1 star reviews.
Yeah.
2 stars.
So, like, 1 star is the basis.
1 star. I don't go to 1-star places.
Yeah.
But I was upset.
That was like the food. Like I got a soup and some macaroni and fries. I didn't eat any of the fries because I was so thirsty, and each potato fry just made my mouth that much drier.
Potato fry.
So I couldn't eat. Well, they were like really steaky fries too. So that makes you even more thirsty though.
It was bad. Not bad enough to remember.
The food would have been good if only I could have had like a little water.
I'm honestly
it didn't even need to be ice water at that point. It just needed to be like.
I'm over it, but
that's some review though. I wish tell people where they can find these reviews. They're actually pretty good. We should do a podcast.
It's a Google review.
We should do a podcast where we read your reviews.
I actually wanted to pay someone on Fiverr to read my reviews in dramatic fashion.
They should.
So I talked briefly. We got into burglaries and burglarizing, and you know what? I'm not gonna get deep into it, but you know what? I do think this is episode 5. We need to give a little bit of our background.
Okay.
Because quite frankly, at some point, if people continue to listen, they're listening because they're getting to know us.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We're not just random people in episode 5. We have to start
having a personality.
Yeah. Do you see
What's yours gonna
is my
be?
screen on?
I can't see from here. Yeah, that's on.
What is mine gonna be? No, I'm saying we talk about who we are.
Oh, I thought you said we needed to have a personality.
Well, I already have one. I come built in with one. You.
I'm a mom. I lost it about 5 years ago, and it's like slowly growing back.
Refer back to the very end of episode 3, and you'll see the difficulty finding an identity for Hillary. And which is why the podcast is named "The Engineer and the Girl," which is fine.
Why exactly? Explain that.
They have to listen to episode 3 again to do it. Burglary. Here's what I'll say about breaking into someone's house. People treat basements like it's not even part of their house. Like they treat basements like it's their backyard. I guarantee you, anyone listening that has a house, your basement is very easy to break into. Very likely, if you have a security system, it's weaker in the basement. Your locks are weaker in the basement. Your windows are probably older and not updated in the basement. And yeah, so, we're not going to get into it, but we talked a little bit about, because Hillary is wiggity about, there's always a monster in the house, right?
Yes. I'm safety conscious.
You're safety conscious. That's the way to put it. And you know what? It's valid, but not here. In this house, we're pretty well sorted. But I did mention, it's worth thinking about. That's something I'll just put out there. And everyone can think about it. Think about your basement. Think about the door between your basement and your upstairs, and like the little hook you have on it, or the little interior little.
We used to have a hook, and you took it off
because we don't need it. Because why have a hook?
But
a hook doesn't.
We didn't even just have a hook. We had like a real lock.
The lock is from 1900.
It must
and
be
it fell
a
apart.
Really good lock.
Remember how it fell apart every time I tried to get out of the basement and the handle would come popping off? What I'm saying is you don't need it.
No, you're talking about the door, but the lock on the door. It had a glass doorknob and a lock. And
you mean the flap thing?
Yeah. You took it off because you kept getting locked in the basement.
No, it was a padlock flap.
You kept getting locked in the basement from it, though. And that's why
No, I did keep getting locked in the basement. The hook locked me in the basement, and then I disabled the hook, and then the knob kept breaking off, so people would close the door and latch it, and actually they just turn the knob, but then the knob fell. Doesn't matter.
So that's like the perfect security system. You can't
what
get
I'm
in.
Saying is,
because if somebody was trying to break in and it was latched, the knob would come off, and we would be alerted to their presence.
Here's the folly of what you just said. Why are people securing the upstairs of their house from the downstairs of their house? The downstairs of your house is also your house. Secure the downstairs.
Oh, it's a backup.
Why? No. That's like having a padlock on your bedroom door, just in case someone gets in your house.
People have panic rooms.
Okay, and it's and that's a very niche thing that you should never hope to use. So don't rely on it, is what I'm saying. You don't need a lock on the basement because you're not going to rely on it. If someone's in your basement, half of our good stuff is in our basement.
I don't care about my stuff. I just need that amount of time to leave. Like I said in the last episode, they can have the house. Just let me leave it.
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
So let's get into David and Hillary a little bit. So Hillary, what are you all about?
I don't know. That's the problem. I'm not really about anything.
So that's clearly not true. I've known you since 05-ish.
Uh-huh.
You didn't talk to me for a couple years there because you were one of those. You were pretty snooty. But you were like 19. So you were growing still. Were you 19?
I don't know. I'm doing the math.
I was 17.
I was born in 86.
Gross.
So yeah, I think that's
so. You were 19.
Yeah.
Which means we got married just 3 days. No, but you were 22. I was 22.
You were 22.
How old were you when we got married? You were 24?
I was 24 because
Good googly moogly.
I should have gotten married like 2 months earlier and I could have just been 23.
You wanted to get married the next year. That was the problem. Anyway, so I met you. Who is Hillary? I'll tell you what I thought Hillary was.
This is great.
I thought you were cute, but in a totally
snooty way?
No, in a totally over missable way. Like she's just that girl. Because you weren't overly talkative. Personality wise, you were very easygoing. I could just, share your drink with you. and like you wouldn't be grossed out and whatever. Like it was very easygoing. As friends, you were, very easygoing. Your family. I go and hang out with the family, and things were very easygoing. It's like I wasn't even there. You guys would watch Survivor all night and talk about stuff and scream. Not at each other, just your talking voice was screaming in that house at all times.
Yeah, you still complain about that.
And the thick New York accents, it was the thickest of anyone I really hung out with. Your mom's accent was like, and your dad, particularly. Yeah, but I mean, you have a personality. You're a person.
I'm an easygoing person. I get that a lot still. People think I'm easigoing.
Why are you easygoing?
I don't think I'm easygoing, though.
But why?
I'm very stressed out and anxious all the time, but people think I'm easygoing.
You are tense. I'd compare you. I compare it to like tension, like always bending something to where it's like a spoon. It's not breaking yet, but it's always under tension, which means if you do something wrong, it'll break or it'll flip out in that direction. Like you're under pressure. Content's under pressure, but it's all the time, though.
Yeah.
Which is why your fuse is so short.
Is it, though? Yeah, I guess I am always threatening to...
I mean, it is short.
See, I didn't do it this time. I didn't say the M word. You told me to stop talking about killing people all the time.
Yes.
I didn't do it, and then I did.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. So here's a good question. Why are you the way you are? Because I think that a lot of things are like the way you grow up. Like we talked about middle child earlier. I need to enunciate better.
Middle child.
Thank you so much. How do you say it again?
Middle child.
Help me, Westerner. Help me. Tell me your ways. Take me to your Prince Edward. So you had a certain family dynamic. You have an older sister.
Yes.
She's like,
she's
definitely more out there than you.
I don't think she'll ever listen to this. So
I have nothing bad to say. I'm saying that she's probably more out there than you. Like if in a social situation, she might be.
Well, I think in the family, I was the let it go.
You were kind of the peacemaker.
I was the peacemaker.
You still are.
Yeah.
You would.
Oh, we're under attack on both sides. The boy's coming from one direction. The dog is in the other. It's coming. It's happening. Here he is.
Mom.
Yeah.
I just act like you're crying.
You thought I was crying?
Don't pull that up like you're about to stay.
Why?
I need to know your mom.
Yes, we are. We are totally doing our broadcast.
I don't really think that you being a peacemaker is all there is to it.
But I think it's interesting because you're right. Probably a lot of the roles we take on, obviously, the roles we take on as children form our personalities so much. And our family dynamic really forms a lot of who we are as we fit into that role in our family.
Right. And so we talked about Gilmore Girls, the last podcast. And, you say that
great show.
You and your mother were kind of like that. And that has to have something to do with just, because, what does that do to you? How do you think that has changed you that you were buddies with your mother as opposed to how some other people are raised?
Well, I think that does add to kind of the peacemaker nature because I didn't necessarily... I would be flippant and snotty like any other teenager with my mom. But then I think at the same time, when you have that more buddy relationship, you're more concerned with like keeping the peace there too because that's your friend too. So
it's more like you're protecting someone.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, you treat it more like just... Because I think when your mom is just your mom... You're like, okay, Mom, I'm mad. And then you'll show up later and pout or do whatever. And I surely did all those things. But at the same time, there's more likelihood to want to get along again because, now you want to do the fun thing. And the person you do the fun thing with is also your mom.
I was attracted by the boy saying, oh, no.
He gets that from you. You are always shouting noise throughout the house.
All right. Take a break. I really didn't want to give the boy, he doesn't have any siblings. I definitely didn't want to have that dynamic with him because I felt that it would confuse the kid for, you're his buddy, but God prepare him for like.
No,
This is just my point of view.
I'm saying I think that it's nice to have the two dynamics because you want your kid to respect you and see you and your authority. But at the same time, as they come into their teenager years and they're pulling away from you, you want them to still feel comfortable enough to talk to you about stuff.
I don't think
because that's really when they need you the most is when they're pulling away from you the most. So you want them to be able to feel comfortable to come and say, hey, Dad, I did this dumb thing. Help me out. Help me learn and grow. Help me figure out what to do instead of just covering it up and making more mistakes. You can help guide them.
I think people talk about parenting like your child's trust is a commodity. I believe the reverse. I feel like a parent's trust is a commodity that a child earns and can use and expend and lose. But I don't think a child necessarily is rebellious when they're a teenager. I don't think that's natural. I think independence, a greater degree of independence is natural, but it kind of depends on where you start. If your kid is raised, and you kind of do, let their wings spread and let them, build their own, personality and you're kind of liberal like that. I feel like the swing will be pretty far because it's relative to how they're raised. If you raise a kid, we have a 5-year-old and there's just certain decisions I don't let him make, even when it comes to toys and stuff like that. Like when I take him down the toy aisle, I let him get things that I know he won't get sick of immediately. Right. I let him get things that, are not going to lose pieces immediately. Like normally parents are like, okay, this is your thing. You pick what you want and you deal with, but I don't let him make most decisions completely on his own. But I try to make him feel like he is. Yeah. So I guide him and so he can build decision-making ability, but it won't be a decision we have to face the consequences of. So I feel like as he gets older, his swing to more independence won't necessarily swing all the way to rebellion. He's, because right now he has very limited freedoms compared to most kids, which is funny because he feels he behaves the same. Like he doesn't walk around, like no one could put him next to one of his kid friends and say he's deprived in any way or he's not allowed to freely express himself. Because he's a wild, crazy, free kid, right? But the fact of the matter is, so that's funny how it works. Like you can tighten the leash on your kid to an appropriate level for what I think a 5-year-old should be, and restrict them, like it's healthy to do. But it doesn't affect the kid negatively if you're consistent. Like that's just his life. Like he's not worse off than anyone else. If we gave him a lot of freedoms, he'd be exactly as happy as he is now or less so. But what I'm saying is, right. So he becomes a teenager and guess what? He's going to go get the more freedom. And in his case, it's going to mean being able to stay out later or, we won't have to, he won't have to check in with us. Halfway through the evening if he's out with his friends. Like it'll be things like that. Whereas a kid who has these freedoms at like 10, like go on for sleepovers, mom doesn't check on you, Mrs. Brady will bring you back.
But like deep dive on David, weren't your parents like they weren't your buddy and you were like rebellious, sneaky guy?
I'll tell you right now that I am not comparing this to me. I'm not the template for how my kid's going to be raised.
Oh, okay.
Which is obvious, right? Are you? Templating after you? Templating?
In some ways, yeah. I think I was raised very well. I was very pleased with my childhood. I'm pretty happy with
it. It worked for you, but it also...
Yeah.
But you can always improve on it.
Yeah, I want to improve on it. But I think the general... I like the idea of giving enough freedom without... Like not being... I find like the overly restrictiveness often breeds rebellion, too. So I like...
Well, the key word is overly.
Yeah.
So I agree. Nothing should be overly anything.
Well, because you always
Don't overly cook my
always
steak,
make fun of
Longhorn
me
Steakhouse.
and my family saying like they were so liberal they let you do
They weren't liberal.
whatever. But it's kind of like just the line didn't have to be tight, and then you don't want to cross it. It's like that freedom, the
Right.
I don't know.
Well, here's what we know.
This isn't a parenting podcast.
Well, here's
I feel
what
like we've gone
but
down
here's
a
what
whole
we know, and
parenting rabbit hole.
this is the engineer and the girl, because I will often, my approach to things are very different. And in some ways, I treat a family like a business. In some ways, I treat kids like a machine. In some ways, I'm very structured like that.
I guess,
and it's not necessarily better.
I guess that does go to speak to our personalities and the way I talk about being stressed and intense, but I am easygoing and kind of like, okay, like let's see how it works out. It'll be, and you're more like, we have a plan. I'm going to structure it. It's going to be like this.
Well,
this is how it'll work out. And I'm usually pushing against you being like, well, don't make a plan.
We'll probably get a little more into David now.
Yeah.
Because my approach is know what's going to happen before it happens.
Which you can't.
Like, know what to expect. But you see who's saying that, right? So you have to know that whatever you say is coming from that narrow, perspective and life experience you have. But you're not going to be dogmatic about it. You know that this is where Hillary comes from, and the way I see things.
You can't predict the future.
Okay, and I disagree.
You can predict the future?
Well, you know what?
What are tomorrow's lottery numbers?
I'll tell you. I have somewhere a photo I had on the whiteboard, and this is while we were married. You would have seen it, and it was a graph, and it was a circle on it, and it had a lot of writing over there, and it was basically a thesis on like something very specific about human behavior. But basically, well, without getting too far into the weeds, no, we're not all snowflakes. Mm-hmm. People are very predictable because we're not all that different. What motivates us isn't all that different, So getting back to like something we can understand, the boy, like his motivations are not unique. His, if I'm buying a toy, I will buy a toy that will avoid this problem, this bad behavior, this inevitable issue that he's going to have when he loses his part of this. Like, that's how I approach something as simple as buying a toy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that is how I approach things, is to try to anticipate. I also at the same time, I don't like to necessarily do anything based on what I anticipated. So like with training the dog, or with the boy, you will try to fix the situation. So if the dog is jumping on the couch, you will push him down perhaps in a scenario. Whereas I will give him the command to get down or sit or whatever. And then I will try to fix. So I try to train first because I see the problem. I already knew he was going to do that. I don't prevent him, first of all. He gets on, because how are you going to teach him not to do it if you don't let him do it in the first place? Mm-hmm. And that was the thing with the kid. He doesn't ask for things nicely, the kid. He's very bad at asking for things. He's bad at asking for help. And so however that got caused, you might anticipate him being hungry or thirsty, and you'll ask him. You might lay out options of him of, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? Totally normal mother thing to do. I would obviously, being just as good a parent as any other parent, I would anticipate my kid's needs, but I might wait until he asks, because however it happened, our kid just doesn't know how to ask for things. He might just make a noise and expect this, and what he means.
He says, "Oh, I'm really thirsty right now."
He'll say it to himself.
I wish I had a drink.
And the reaction to a mother would be, yeah. What do you? Because it's not like he's asking for a toy. Of course, you give him water. Yeah. He doesn't need to ask sweetly for water, but he also has not learned to communicate. So that's how I am.
Yeah.
That's led to some very interesting dynamics in our relationship. Mm. And it's like, who's right, who's wrong? It's, of course, give the kid water. Of course, take care of the kid. No one could blame you for giving the kid what he needs or anticipating he's thirsty.
Well, I think that that's the beauty in getting to have the two parents working together, and the fact that our personalities are so different. I think that that is beneficial because he's getting both the almost two extremes working together. So you can't beat that.
Yeah, and we're the engineer and the girl. I think a coalescing is always the goal. Like, I don't really think it's great to necessarily have these wildly different ways of doing things. Like, our goal is to always come together, and because that's just as bad because you're with the kid most of the time. So if I was always doing something and you were doing this thing, we don't do our own things in this house. That's not our goal. Like, it just makes everything messier. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I have to admit, even if I'm right, it just doesn't matter sometimes. It just doesn't matter. And the need to be right is a terrible thing. And then sometimes you have to admit that you were doing this way and it works, but technically my way is better. And so it wouldn't hurt. So that's the goal. That's marriage. That's marriage goals right there. Do you have to be right? Here's the thing I would point out to people. How does it feel when you're right?
That's so true, because being right or winning an argument, like, I'm sure you've had that. Everybody's probably had this experience where, like, you're arguing over something, you're like so dead set, you're going to win the argument, and then you get your way, and then you just feel like garbage because it wasn't worth it. Well,
do you? That's the question. I think some people really thrive. There's someone we know, well, there's multiple people we know that seem to thrive off negativity. And there may be some people who, and it eats away at them to not speak up, to not complain, or to not set someone straight. So I think you're a good person if you have the fight, you get the last word, and you feel worse. That is the goal, I think. And then you should learn, okay, if I feel worse, why? Let's just skip this. Let's skip the fight. I'll let it go.
Right.
But I do think there's some people that really thrive off negativity. And there's no hope for them, because there's more than enough negativity go around at all times.
Yeah. Well, we just heard something recently where it talked about talking about negativity, like, to feel negative, feelings always start with a thought. So negative thinking leads to negative feelings, essentially. So if you're a negative person, you're always going to you're never going to feel great, because you're just feeding garbage into your brain, and then you feel like garbage.
And that speaks to, just like I said, like, you'll never run out.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I look for positivity just to make myself feel better, and that's the job, like, to take your mind and put it in that direction. It never takes any work to feed negativity.
Yeah.
Because it's always abundant. Anyway.
So this took a weird turn, though, because we just became like a parenting marriage counselor.
No.
Podcast, which I don't think is what we meant to do.
I did.
Oh, you did?
Well,
I guess that's us.
That's us. But it's not marriage. We are not like the couple.
We are like, no.
We're like two people that love each other.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah. But we're not like, look at them.
I know, people would always be like,
no one says,
well, what's marriage like? What's it like being married? And I'd be like, let me get back. Let me be a cautionary tale to you. It is not your rom-coms. Let me give you the dirt on what it's really like. It's picking up dirty socks and fighting.
Picking up dirty socks? What?
No, I think, like, because people have the idealistic view of marriage, but I think sometimes what marriage essentially is not necessarily having everything the way you want, but at the same time, you wouldn't change it.
I'll tell you. Okay, well, let's get into marriage now. This is the marriage cast. Marriage only works if both people are perfect. Anything short of that, you're asking for trouble.
So that's obviously, we're both perfect. And
no,
there's a secret.
That's why I went into this marriage knowing it was going to be rough. Like, I was just 22. I was still young, but I still went to this marriage in a very sober way. Like, this was not a storybook marriage.
No.
Like, this was like this, I'm going to die with this person type of thing. This is my death mate. Like,
so romantic.
I mean, we did not have and the honeymoon,
my
all of
death
it was
mates.
just not. There was no.
It was a rocky start.
No portion.
And now we have come full circle. We're back to where we started. And
Yeah. So to explain that, because it's come up more than once, this house we're in, we rented for less than a year when we first got married. So let's talk about it. So, okay.
so this is the first place we lived.
So, okay. So here's the whole thing. All right. So let's tell the story. Okay.
I hate telling this story.
So let's talk about that. So people ask us to tell the story, and I hate being asked that.
I hate it.
So we first of all, we switch off. Sometimes I'll say, Killer, you tell him. Half the time I will make stuff up.
It's better that way, I
It's
think.
so much better that way. And I will do that today.
Do it, man.
But it is unpleasant, generally.
Yeah.
So we were friends. I didn't state any interest in you. I was dating someone else, long distance. Then you convinced me to date you instead, basically, because it was one of those situations where we were friends, and then you saw your boat taking off and leaving.
Yeah.
And so, in a tear-filled shut up for a second.
Wait, just to
Who's telling this story?
Just to give context, like basically it could be two stories. If it was like a cute little rom-com where I'm the star, I'm running to the airport to get you and everyone's rooting for me that you change your mind. Contrastly, I guess technically I could also be the villain who like ran to the airport and broke up
By the way, let me correct that. I forget that this is public. Let me clarify that. Let me start over. Okay, let me start over. Okay, so we were friends, but I was dating someone, and then that started having issues. And long distance relationships are trouble. Most of it, it's very difficult, and so I couldn't. It just was getting more and more difficult. And so as I was falling apart, then Hillary, started seeing, that I was making one more push for that relationship to kind of.
I didn't really know about that relationship.
Hillary, who's telling the story?
Well, because I'm trying to remember now, and it's funny how everything is like vaguer in my mind. I remember you told me you liked me, and then you always remind me that I just said thank you, and it really hurt.
That was
my
much
feelings.
later.
No.
It was.
No, you told me you liked me before we started dating.
Right. But we didn't start dating right away.
Yeah. So it was earlier to when we started
Who's telling
dating.
this story?
But I didn't know you were in a relationship.
Why don't I tell the story? You did. You did. We had a whole conversation about it. I remember where I was.
Okay.
Back before you knew how to text, and I'd have to wait for these little tiny texts because you had a little T9 phone or whatever.
This is the worst podcast yet. We're supposed to be good at this.
Well, you keep interrupting the story.
Okay.
I don't know what the point of the story is. So you saw your boat leaving. You hopped on my train. We started dating.
Is it a boat or a train?
It was clumsy. You had never dated anyone before. And all your suitors before me were something.
Yeah.
They were all very different from me. I'll tell you that. I mean, you have three groups. You have the people that you would like in a perfect world, like the guys you think are hot, whoever those are. All I know is Freddie Prinze Jr., but I know that was from your teenage years. But it's so you, just some white bread. Then you have the guys who were coming after you, which are all... and then you had me, just a friend. And then I'm like, you know what? I like you. You're cool. And I didn't send you an email love letter like another guy. I didn't sleep on your porch like what's his face. I just said, I'm here. Okay. What I probably did is I know how it went. So I was in a relationship with this girl first. Then we broke up. And then much later, while I was not seeing anyone, I said I liked you. You said, thank you. I think it was twice that happened. I gave you chances. Then I, pushed you aside, and I ended up visiting home again, back west. Happened upon that relationship again. That started up. Came back. You became aware of that because we were friends, and then you confessed that maybe you had been rash. So that's how that happened. We fast forward. Then we got a house to rent. It was this house, $1,200 a month. It was outside of our budget at the time. We were kind of bringing all kinds of debt into the marriage.
Yeah,
just ridiculous
we were
debt.
not fiscally responsible.
Yeah, for
although press pause on that.
You're gonna blame it on me?
I had no debt before we got married. Zero.
You did.
Zero.
You did.
No.
And you made more with the wedding.
No, all my debt was from the
wedding dress.
I paid off
the wedding dress.
I paid off my credit cards
every
every single month. The wedding dress is not. Well, first of all, we had to pay for the wedding dress.
That was on your credit card.
Yeah.
Don't even get into the wedding dress.
I'm saying that's the wedding debt. That's part of paying for the wedding. I didn't have debt.
So we rented this house,
Yeah.
and my friend Phil flew up. He was my groomsman. Mm-hmm. And you resented him for this indefinitely. We came. We started staying here before we got married. Me and Phil were here before you moved in.
No, you're wrong again. Your brother. It was you and your brother. And everybody.
Phil was also here.
Phil was only here like a week before the wedding.
That's what I'm referring to.
You were living here like a month before.
So we were here, and basically
you moved in September. And
you got uptight. You got uptight.
All right, let me just tell the podcasting world about this, and let's see if people have opinions. I had the shower, the wedding shower. I got my wedding dishes, the wedding
Don't
stuff.
call them wedding dishes.
The gifts you get for getting married, your new dishes, your new stuff that you look forward to using in your new house for your new marriage with your new life. And so you were living here first, and we were getting married soon. I had brought the stuff over, and I never got to use it or open it. I came over one day, and the sink was just full of all our new dishes
False.
and stuff.
You were the one that put them away in the cabinet, inviting me to use them.
Anybody, David, nobody has ever agreed with you. No.
You took them out.
You
and
had
no.
all the old stuff. I had supplied you with all the other.
But they were stocked and ready to go.
For after we came back from our honeymoon, not for you to be. This place, first of all, this place was like trash. It looked like Animal House. All my nice new stuff was just trash.
False.
Trash.
False.
And anybody with good sense would know not to use your wedding gifts until after the marriage.
Is my phone on?
Was made. Okay. After the wedding. Yes. After the wedding.
Let me say
your
this.
wife.
Let me say this. Okay.
I can't believe after 11 years you still can't admit that you were wrong.
I don't. Here's what happened.
We're getting a divorce.
Can I just say clearly?
Divorce.
Can I just say clearly what happened? We got the new dishes. They're just dishes. They're ugly, actually. And we still have them for some reason. She unpacked them.
Super ugly. I hate them now. I wish they would break, but they're
so sturdy and thick.
I guess, yeah.
They dissipate heat well. She put them away in the cabinets, and she wasn't living here. She just came in, did all that stuff.
I was getting it ready for when
I heard you. I was living here, and here was my mistake. When I ate food, I chose to put it not in my hand.
No.
But I put it upon a plate.
There were you?
And that was my fatal mistake.
No.
So once she learned, there
was other.
Yes,
I had put. I brought you sheets. I brought you dishes. I brought you all the kinds of stuff you would need. And then I was also preparing the house for when I moved in and we were a married couple. And you and your brother.
Notice how you're sticking to this.
You and your brother.
Don't bring my brother into it.
We're here hanging out.
Well, let's assume it's my fault. Because my brother is one of the few people that listen to this. So let's not start stuff.
Well, when you're listening to this, know you were wrong. And your wife will also agree with me that you two were fools.
when she found out.
Okay, if you listen to this, comment. I apologize for being a fool 11 years ago with my brother.
When she found out, tears over the phone, screaming at me over the phone.
She was gonna cancel.
Yeah. She is not nearly as mild-mannered back then as she was today. She was screaming.
I was irate.
I went over to her mother's house, and her mother is there on the back steps, cradling Hillary.
You're wrong again. You misconstrued.
Who's telling the story?
No.
Who's telling the story?
So that happened in February. You remember? You just
February
and
Let me tell the story.
Are we just going to air all our dirty laundry on this episode of the podcast? That happened back in February. We had gone on a road trip together with you and your friends, and you were such a monster jerk the whole time. I came back. I know, right?
Okay. Now we'll give you Would You Rather.
Okay.
Now I want you to not only tell me Would You Rather, but I want you to, whether it's your answer or not, to guess what most people would say as well.
Okay.
Okay. Would you rather lead a boring life from here on forward? Mm-hmm. The assumption being it's somehow more boring than your current life. Or be reborn with all your memories into a babby of the opposite sex.
I think most people would rather be reborn as a baby of the opposite sex.
What would you say?
Like, would I die then immediately, or would I live out my life?
Reborn, Hillary. Reborn.
I guess, yeah, that makes... No, I like... Yeah, I like my life.
Yeah, because our lives are already boring.
Yeah, so it's not like... Yeah, that's what I would do.
So you would choose this. 77% of people disagree with you.
I know. But I would miss all the people that I left behind to be reborn as a boy.
You know what? That's good. You're reborn as a boy. Also, who feels the need to be reborn as a boy in the first place? That no woman is pining to be reborn as a boy. Correct?
I mean, life would probably be more easy and fun if I was a boy.
You think boys have more fun than girls?
Yeah. You were just talking about that the other day, how boys get to be boys, but girls are expected to be women much sooner.
Would you rather live in Sao Paulo, Brazil, or New York?
I think most people would pick New York. I don't know anything about Brazil, so I'm going to pick New York.
Most people did pick and agreed with you. Would you rather begin every sentence with "I'ma let you finish," or end every sentence with "in bed"?
In bed? I guess I was.
Let's see how this works. First of all, I'm gonna let you finish, but I need to know which of these questions you're gonna pick.
I need to know which of these questions you're going to pick in bed. It doesn't make sense. You have to do, I'm going to let you finish.
Could you go take out the garbage in bed? Well, you have to say it in a sultry way.
In bed?
Yeah. Like, I need to go do the laundry in bed.
Yeah, you have to. But I feel like there are people that start out every sentence with, I'm going to let you finish.
So that's what you choose?
Yeah.
And you think people agree with you?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
Most people would end every sentence with "in bed." These are all the people that hate Kanye. Yeah. Would you rather get stung repeatedly by a Japanese hornet? I assume that's the murder kind. Or be bitten once by a black widow spider? Remember in the second podcast when I just read Bing headlines to you, and one of them was about the murder hornets?
I don't.
Be bitten once by a black widow spider?
Bitten once by the spider.
You think people agreed with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. These are not good questions. Would you rather never go to prison but move every year for the rest of your life, or spend 5 years in prison but return to your old life with no consequences?
Never go to prison?
Yeah, of course. Because they'd eat you up in prison, presumably, right?
Who wants to go to prison?
55% of people want to go to prison.
Wow.
Do you want to play with dog do like Play-Doh, or sit in someone else's warm urine?
Oh gosh, those are both disgusting.
This is the essence of Would You Rather.
I'd rather.
Oh, wait, first of all, I've not been reading them all. For 3 minutes, would you rather do one or the other? The note given by Anonymous is that the urine would not be shallow that you sit in.
Oh, so it's like a bucket of urine?
Sure.
I think I'd rather sit in the urine still.
Warm. Yeah.
Oh, they're both disgusting.
First of all, if you sit in it, then it might get in your own bits.
Well, I'm dressed.
Are you dressed in waterproof clothing?
But still, what do you mean get in your own bits? Is going up inside your body? What are you talking about?
Well, women have body bits.
It doesn't get up inside your
Does it
body. No.
Is it like airtight?
You're so weird.
I don't know how it works.
No, I would sit in the urine. Gross.
I would, for the record, I would play with a dog do like Play-Doh. My hands compared to everything.
You're scared of poop.
I would play with the dog do excitedly.
You would
while
not.
you sit in the urine.
You would not. You are scared of
Well,
poo. You're scared of your own poo. You would not.
I'm not.
play with
I'm
the
not
poo.
scared of poo. With a poot cast again. I don't want to sit in someone else's urine. People barely agreed with you.
But they did.
Yeah. Well, would you rather watch the? Would you rather be immortal or die right now?
Immortal.
Would you rather be hunted by Jack Bauer or be hunted by Jason Bourne?
I feel like Jack Bauer's not going to kill me. Jason Bourne is hunting me like he wants to kill me. So I want the one that's not trying to kill me.
Jack Bauer's from 24, right?
Yeah, so he was like capturing bad guys, right? I never watched it, but he's not. Jason Bourne was like killing bad guys.
Well, here's the thing. If Jack Bauer's chasing you, you are a bad guy.
Yeah.
If Jason Bourne's chasing you, you might just know a secret about his past that he wants.
Yeah, but
which means he won't kill you.
But he's going to beat me up.
Only if you resist. He just wants information. He just wants to know who he is.
I don't know. He just beat up a lot.
I would rather be chased by Jason Bourne.
I feel like Jack Bauer, we could like.
I like Matt Damon more than Kiefer Sutherland.
Misunderstanding.
That was Kiefer Sutherland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely prefer Jason Bourne. You prefer Jack Bauer.
I don't want to die.
Most people agreed with me. Jason Bourne is...
Well, Jason Bourne is cooler. Like, we're going to meet one.
Would you rather be electrocuted for 10 seconds or get slapped 20 times?
Well, electrocuted for 10 seconds.
Electrocuted? Have you ever been electrocuted? For 10 seconds?
I don't know how long.
Anytime
Probably not 10 seconds.
Every time you've been electrocuted, it's probably been for a fraction of a second.
Maybe. I don't know. I stuck my finger in the light bulb socket of the refrigerator when I was a kid. And it got me pretty good.
Most people disagree with you because that's obviously ridiculous. Would you rather live in the Doctor Who universe or the Star Wars universe?
Doctor Who.
Would you rather find $1 or read a book?
Why are those?
You know what?
I wouldn't mind doing either one. I mean, I could read a book or find $1.
I think the idea is that you have to read the book.
Okay, I can read a book.
You don't know what book it is.
I'll find the $1 though. What's the harm? If I find the $1, I can read a book too.
Yeah,
Win-win.
Most people would find. Well, it's not win-win because $1 is $1. A book could be anything.
All right, well, I'm going to find $1. Why are they on the same level? It doesn't make sense. Neither is bad.
I mean, I wouldn't pick up $1
Why?
because I don't know where it's been. Someone may have pooped on that $1.
Well, you play with poop, so what do you care?
I would be willing to play with poop, gun to my head, but I don't know. Podcasting is hard. All right. I'm going to pick one topic.
I feel like I would be one of those people that would get killed gun to my head because sometimes I get like the person would be like, play with poop or I'm going to shoot you. And I'd be like, you can't make me play with poop. I'll never play with the poop.
First of all, you would never resist. You would cry.
I fight with you for no reason all
They'd
the
say,
time.
what are you saying? I can't hear you through the tears.
The more you try to tell me what to do, the more I fight with you.
But not in the moment.
Yeah, in the
You
moment.
always start shriveling in the moment.
I always feel bad
and then you come
later.
back. No, reverse. Absolutely reverse. You say less of the time, and I can see your eyes darting around as you try to calculate where I'm wrong, or like a cornered cat. And then you come back later with new arguments.
All right.
Because I'm more on top of things. You have to come back and think about your...
When I've thought about it reasonably, I have to come back and tell you why you were wrong.
Oh, yeah. Did you know I'm on the top 10% of restaurant reviewers on Google?
You are?
Yeah.
Wow.
Google just gives you a little note. You're in the top 10%. I'm like, what is everyone else doing? I'll give you another review.
Are you rating it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something about Panera always reminds me of being a little kid looking over the kitchen counter and barely being able to see over it. That counter where they hand you your food in Panera and you can just barely see what they're doing behind there. I just want to stand on my toes and look over and ask if I can lick the spoon. I've been kicked out of restaurants for less. That was 5 stars. See, I don't believe you should just give bad reviews. If you give bad reviews, you also have to give the good ones.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Let's find one of these for you to read.
I never realized that this review was for our park. Not that last review. There's another park review on here, and I never realized that it was for the park that we go to. One of the parks we go to.
So,
Google will tell you that the sun is over 91 million miles from the Earth, but sometimes in summer, it's actually closer. Turns out there's a website that will tell you where the sun is in relation to you right at the moment. Turns out, if you check that site from this park, it actually directs you behind the basketball courts to this play area. It's actually like some kind of art piece with like inverted toilets and discarded Halloween decorations from Kate McKinnon's house. And underneath it is what looks like painted asphalt, but on a hot day reveals its true form, an extruded layer of excited gases and plasma from the sun itself. I would warn all to prevent their children from stepping on it, but I think Kate McKinnon sued the city and it got coned off anyway. It's quite terrible, but on the other hand, I love Smash Mouth. 5 stars. # walking on the sun.
I will have to go to the video version of the podcast, and I will put the picture. I'll put the whole thing on screen because Hillary was like blazing through it. But the picture on screen, it's like asphalt play area. It's like kids can't play.
This is actually a really nice park. He loves the boy loves this park.
Well, on a hot day, it's unbearable.
I guess.
What do you mean you guess?
Well, we went in the summertime. He loved it. What were you doing at this park? Do you have a child?
What are you talking about?
This
is so old.
Why were you there?
For the car wash. This is the slowest car wash I've ever been in. It's definitely not cheap, and the results are not amazing. This is why I didn't get my audition. Remember our audition? And like, if I was reading like this, just churning through words.
When we had our audition, you did not care and you refused to rehearse.
No, not that audition.
Then what are you talking about?
Just the audio where we're just told to read.
Oh, yeah. No, that was the same one. We had the audio.
No, we had two.
Reading.
We had two. We had one where we had the script ahead of time, and that was not nearby. And then we went to this place nearby.
But that also had a script. We had 2 scripts.
No, we didn't get it.
Yeah, we totally did.
Well,
we did have a script.
Is it your goal on this podcast to put me on blast?
I'm not putting you on blast. I'm just jogging your memory.
Don't say I didn't care.
You didn't want to do it.
Well, maybe I was nervous. Let's just assume that.
Okay.
Maybe I was just scared.
Yes.
Let's just leave it.
Because I know you can do a good job.
This is the slowest car wash I've ever been in. It's definitely not cheap. And the results are not amazing. But you know what? It went past slow and inefficient and came out the other side deliberate and premium. I felt like the slowly rotating brushes and flaccid jets of water really saw me, you know? I feel like they weren't just concerned about cleaning my car, but they were really getting to know me. Really taking a good look inside my car, learning about my personality, my disappointments, my ambitions. I feel seen for the first time in my life. 5 stars.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
All these, I think what we're learning is that I'm a very sarcastic person.
Yeah.
But my sarcasm always comes out, hopefully, in the funnest ways.
Yes, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh, this is another McDonald's review.
My turn. Give it to you.
McDonald's review.
Oh, man.
I stress out every time I have to drive in or out of this McDonald's. Traffic and tight corners. Is it because I'm a little country boy that isn't up to the challenge of driving with all these hardened New Yorkers? Yes.
Yes. Apparently, McDonald's drive-thrus do not agree with you.
I don't know. I mean,
that one got 4 stars, though.
I'm a nice man.
All right, here's a Cracker Barrel. Everyone was super friendly. The place was not super crowded. I like that you can reserve a spot online if it is. The egg was horrible and inedible. The turkey was just okay. The biscuits were not complimentary, but the warmth and friendliness of the wait staff more than redeemed the experience. See how that works? Just be nice and kind. Love covers a multitude of bad eggs. 5 stars.
5 stars. Absolutely. I'm you know what? I'm not making the food. I mean, the first line of the diner review is "It's a diner," and I think that
really says it all.
The worst thing is when people reply, like the company replies, because that's the last thing I want to do is engage with the company I'm writing a review for.
It'd be nice if they gave you a coupon or something.
The Cheesecake Factory. Do you want a menu that's far too large? Do you want an establishment that is both large and somehow also above capacity, which is definitely the Cheesecake Factory? Do you want near $20 mojitos, which was a mistake on our part? Do you want staff that seem cheerful only because they got off the phone with a friend that you are now distracting them from? Turns out, yes, I want all of that. And I do. I like how Cheesecake Factory is like too big to even see you. I feel like I'm inside a big organism that I'm like in the corner of. I'm just eating, like I'm in the corner of a whale. I'm just eating the little krill that it, and I'm like getting the cast-offs from its belly. I don't want to be too seen at a restaurant. But it backfired on me because...
Didn't they respond?
I think they did. And so did that pizzeria. I was probably a little overly harsh with people during the pandemic because you go to places, some of these like pizza shops and stuff, and
they're understaffed,
or just they're just hanging out. There's some like you go to a Chinese restaurant. Every Chinese restaurant I've been to around here is like they always have like, you know, the kid is doing homework at one of the tables and like the teenagers tending because it's like a family business.
Yeah.
But like whenever I go into a Chinese restaurant, serving me food is like only like their side thing. It seems like there's always so much else going on. What are you saying?
Pizza places are similar. Anytime I've ever had to like actually go into the pizza place, everyone that works there acts like they're irritated that you're there. And like, can you just hurry up and take your food and get out of here? And it's like the least welcoming environment I've ever been in. Which
is, again, though, what I want, I think.
I hate it. They always look at you like, oh yeah, you want that soda too? Here. Like, well, I might as well just throw it at you and then throw you out the door.
Yeah, I think that's what I want. Pizza places around here.
I think a lot of it, though, is like they're family businesses. They're hanging out with their family all day, and like you're interrupting their conversation.
That's what's exactly my problem.
And
what I hate about pizza restaurants is that it's gotten me to the point where I just get what is there. Like they put out their nasty pizza that's set out all day, and you just have to pick one of those. Like, since when is that what pizza is? Now I always get stuff added to it. Like, could you put something else on that? But it's like, I just want to order a pizza.
Yeah. Well, order it ahead of time. This don't bother them. They don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, bring back Pizza Hut from Kansas. I
love Pizza Hut. There is a Pizza Hut.
No, we don't have Pizza Huts around here.
There's a Pizza Hut.
We don't have Pizza Huts around here.
We do have Pizza Hut.
Well, people don't know where we live, so we can say that.
We do have Pizza Hut. It's delicious. You like Domino's better than Pizza Hut. You weirdo. Is that like a massive list for this podcast?
Oh, it's not for this podcast.
Oh.
Yeah. That's a podcast, I think.
I think that was a podcast. I apologize for this podcast, please.
Parts of this have been a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, episode 5 won't be the best, but I promise we'll do better on episode 6. I'll keep promising the next episode will be better until it's true.
What I would love to do is not have to record these every week and then have 2 days to edit them.
Well, we'll do better next time.
No, because next week Phil's here, and
he's not here on the weekend.
He's absolutely here on the weekend.
Isn't he just here on Monday?
You think he came from Arkansas to be in New York or wherever we live for one day?
Well, I didn't know he came to visit you.
I didn't say he come. What do you think he's here for?
I don't know why he's here.
But do you think he came for a day?
Said, "Hey, man, you want to have dinner on Monday?" I figure he has plans that you're not included in. I don't know what he's doing. I asked you, and you also don't know, so I just assumed maybe he's got a bunch of stuff going on. I didn't know we would see him again after Monday.
Well, Neither do I. But I mean, I also assume he has bigger things going on here than me. So why would I get his itinerary?
You said he's here, so I assume that.
Well, he's in
here.
town.
I'm expecting to see him.
He's
on the
in
weekend.
town.
But we can always do a podcast. He can be a special guest.
Gum forbid.
We might need one. This podcast is going down like the Titanic. Somebody save us.
I tell you what. If you think I'm a wild card, Phil is a totally different type of wild card that the world is not prepared for. Yeah. I am refined.
I mean, you're a delight. I can't speak for Phil. I don't really know him that well.
Yeah. Phil, yes, you can't know David without knowing Phil.
Is that true? Because I know you pretty good, but I don't know.
You don't know me very good.
So we just took the quiz.
76% is what you got.
What did you get? Like 30%? You did so bad. And I spoke aloud most of my answers before you took it. This is the one where I'm putting on plus. I
doubt your ability. You don't know yourself.
I do.
Hardly better than I do. Tell me the last dream you had.
I had a dream last night, and it was kind of depressing. So I vaguely remember it, but basically what I remember in my dream, and I woke up super sad, was Monty came in our room, and he was all like, video game day. Oh, I'm sorry, cut that out. The boy came in our room, and he was all like, oh, it's video game day. Can I play video games? And I was like, yeah, of course. But I'm going to stay in here and cuddle with Grandma.
Attempt to talk into your mic.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to stay. Grandma's here. I'm just going to cuddle with Grandma. And I woke up and it was like a very warm dream. And I felt so good in the dream. But then I woke up and I was sad.
You're going to start crying on the podcast?
No. But you asked me about my last dream and that was it.
I think thank you for telling me, by the way. You win also.
I wasn't trying to win. You asked me a direct question. You noticed that I did not tell you about it until you directly
If you bring up your mother, then you automatically win. And I will not. I can't. I feel bad for you automatically. I'm a bad person. And anything else you need to hear.
Why would I need to hear you're a bad person?
Whatever makes you feel better. You're a woman that has suffered trauma in this day and age. You win.
Thank you.
That is obviously not the dream I want to hear about.
Oh, that was the last one. One before that, I wouldn't remember now. Because you know how dreams kind of fade away. So that was the last one. So
what's the last dream you remember?
That's the last dream I remember.
Before it's that, fresh. Obviously.
I don't remember.
You don't remember any dream you've ever had?
Like in life?
Yeah.
Oh, I did have another dream the other day, and I don't remember too much about it, except that it was about my teeth. My front tooth, I have a bonded front tooth in case anyone, and as you know, it has chipped a time or two, and it's always the end of the world when the bonding comes off.
Tears.
Yeah, it's horrible. I look like such a hillbilly.
You look like a crying hillbilly. When
anyway, so in my dream, it broke again, but it broke like to the point where it was just like this little nub sticking out in my mouth, and it was like not even like a chipped tooth. It was just like a stub. And I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And my sister doesn't work for the dentist office anymore, so I don't have a dentist. And I was kind of freaking out, but that's all I really remember. And it hurt. Like it broke. I broke my tooth.
Isn't it funny that people used to claim that you couldn't feel pain in dreams? Did you ever hear that?
I've heard that, and I've also heard you can't read.
Yeah. Which
I like, how do you know? Like, because if you're reading it, because you know what? I have read in dreams. Like in my dream, I've been reading. I know I've had dreams where I'm reading, but your brain is creating everything for you. So like, what kind of phenomenal brain do you have to have that recognizes I'm successfully reading this, but these aren't real words. This is gibberish.
Right. I do remember a Batman episode.
Yes, that's the one. That's where he figured out he was in a dream.
And I bet that's the only time anyone's ever mentioned that because it's such a weird thing once you think about it.
The Scarecrow had put him into like and that's when he realized.
And then
that
you looked down the newspaper and there was all wingdings.
Yes.
Yeah, remember wingdings?
No.
What was wingdings?
I don't know. I disagreed.
You don't remember the font in Microsoft Word or whatever?
Oh yeah.
What is wingdings?
It's just the name of the font. I don't know.
Well, what was it?
It was like a fun font.
But it wasn't words.
Oh, that was that weird one.
It was just simple. What is wingdings?
Yes. We always loved using that one. Let me tell you, let me just date myself a little bit.
Yeah, you're super old.
We used to love, like, basically the computer was like a word processor, and it was like super thrilling to just sit at the word processor and type in and play with the fonts.
Now, when you say word processor, do you mean like
you could just type on it,
like a keyboard with a little screen that's
like
not
a
a full computer?
No, it was like a full computer size screen.
So it was a computer.
But it was just really for typing.
You say word processor.
It was a word
computer
processor.
Or just a word processor?
It was a word processor. We had a word processor first.
Okay.
And it was so much fun to play on the word processor.
Yeah.
And you literally just typed and play with fonts.
I mean, Monty will do that now. I mean, every kid, yeah,
It was so great. And typewriters.
You just slap and then yeah.
I loved playing with the typewriter.
Yeah,
I read many a book on the typewriter.
Yeah. Wow.
Those were the good old days.
Wingdings.
Clickety clackety click.
Yeah. It was Those
were the days.
Yeah. What were we talking about though?
Batman.
Wingdings?
Dreams.
Yeah, it's like why would people assume they can't feel pain in a dream?
Well, also like when people are like, you can't die in your dream. Like you always wake up or you die. Like, but how do I know? How do you know you die? How do you know that the person was dying in their dream and they died in real life? They're not allowed to tell you that they died. Oh, I died in my dream. I didn't.
I think what people say is that if you die in a dream,
you'll die in real life.
Well, surely.
But
everyone.
How would
what is it like if you're falling in your dream?
You usually wake up.
No, it's not Inception.
You do. Have you ever had that happen to you?
No.
I've had in dreams where I'm falling in my dream and I wake up, but I wake up with a start where I actually like.
Can I tell you something about yourself?
What?
Every time you wake up with a start. I come in the room, and if you are awoken, you will ninja hand, chop first, and then drowsily look around. This is your move. You do this first over your hand, as if something's crawling up. And I've been there. You have the same reaction as when I feel something crawling on me in the car.
I told you nobody's gonna get me.
Well, they will.
I'm very like somebody's gonna try to sneak up on me in the nighttime.
They'll get slapped.
And I'm gonna react, and then I'm gonna see it's not you, and I'm gonna react again. I'm gonna headbutt them
Hillary,
in the face.
You listen. We know how it is. Like when you wake up, you can't see, and you're like this.
It's
like
real bad.
you're probably blind.
I
You chop first, and you probably a good 12 seconds before you can even take in information.
I could not see straight for like a really long time. When I first wake up, it takes so long.
Yeah. So no, you're done.
But my second move after chopping is headbutting, and nobody sees that coming.
Yeah, headbutting. You can't headbutt from a laying down position.
Yeah.
If the first move gets them,
they'll at least be stunned.
Yeah, and then you'll, but you won't. Yeah, but you'll still be there. Like you won't.
Give me enough time to kind of roll away.
Yeah, you're the. Yeah. Sharing a bed with you is always interesting.
I don't know. I'm pretty still when I'm asleep.
Yeah. We just have to get past the Murder, She Wrote, the mandatory hour and a half of television watching, and that goes into midnight almost.
Well, that's because I usually don't start. So usually what happens is I go upstairs to watch TV so I can fall asleep, and then I start watching TikTok. And TikTok takes all your time. And then I hear you coming up the stairs and I'm like, oh, shoot. I didn't watch TV. I'm not going to be able to fall asleep. I better turn the TV on now. And
maybe the problem is
and then like 5 minutes later, I'm asleep. I really only need 5 minutes.
And you never sleep well. Like you never are well rested.
No.
And that's why, you have to have your coffee and all that, which you shouldn't need. Have you ever considered not watching TV before going to sleep?
Well, then I can't fall asleep.
So maybe you have insomnia that needs treatment.
And I'm up all night.
Maybe you can treat your insomnia instead of watching TV and making it worse, basically.
Well, I've gotten things to like help you sleep, medicinal, naturally stuff. That's what I would be. If I had the ability... I can't do this podcast anymore. I sound so crazy. If I could focus on things and retain information and bother to learn, I've always really wanted to get into like homeopathy.
Yeah, you would.
Naturalist stuff. Which reminds me, that's what I wanted to talk about here. When your sister told us about in Boston, the old Chinese man naturalists that she heard about that has all
What worries me is the qualifications start with him being old and Chinese.
But
which is not
well, that's
valid
the description
qualifications.
she used for him. But he uses ancient Chinese wisdom, is what his website also
Hillary,
said. And I really would love to do all that.
tell him
natural stuff.
say what he did. How's he diagnosed here?
He takes your pulse, and using your pulse, he is able to diagnose what kind of teas you need for your body to run better.
So does that sound legitimate to you?
It's ancient Chinese wisdom. Who am I to argue with ancient wisdom?
Hillary, look at me right now. What do you know? What can you learn about me just from looking at me? What can you know about my health and well-being?
Nothing.
Anything? Nothing.
No. I don't know.
I mean, the more you learn, you see a little this, or you can see, my skin cracked and dry here, and you can say, and you see this little mole here, and you see some scarring around the hands, and then you can see cuts here. You see my hairline, and you see my bags under my eyes, and you see this and this, and you see this chin here and little fat goose.
No, here's
here.
what we're gonna do. Here's what I want to promise to the podcast. Our three listeners.
What I'm saying is,
this is what I want to do. So your sister's coming in a month. My eyes just went wonky, so everyone who's watching the video can now see that my.
Oh yeah, you have an
eye
eye thing, by the way.
Maybe the man can help.
You're not going to Boston.
I want to go to Boston to see the naturalist man.
Well, it's not happening.
Then we can see if it works.
Well, enjoy your road trip. It's not happening.
It would be a nice experiment that we can report on.
I'll tell you. What? You could just be observant, and you'll learn so much about people. That guy sees you walking up before he even takes your pulse. He already knows if you're not drinking enough water. He already knows if you're... I mean, come on now.
I'm going to be 35 in 2 weeks. I'm not going to become observant anytime soon. So I need to see this man.
What I'm saying is just...
I just want to be healthy. Why don't you want that from me?
Google... Just Google... Just look at yourself.
What?
Come on.
Why are we doing this? What are we looking at on our arms? What is this move?
What do you want to fix?
I want to just feel healthier and more energized.
What specifically?
I want to improve my metabolism.
If you go up to someone...
I want better sleep.
No, if you
I want my gut to function better. I want to be less cranky. I want to be... I don't know.
If you...
Overall wellness.
No. If you go up to someone with something that vague and like, hey...
But you don't need to tell him. He tells you what you need.
You understand that his teas or whatever, you'll get something out of it. It'll give you a little boost. Echinacea, I don't know, ginseng. I
want it.
Yeah, but that... Just do it then.
And I want it from him. I want to see this
drink an energy drink. Do you want to feel better? Because
let me just tell you this, because you said drink an energy drink, and the time in my life when I felt really the best is when for lunch every day I would have a peanut butter sandwich and what was it? It wasn't Monster Energy. It was by Mountain Dew. What was it called? Anyway, I would have an energy drink and a peanut butter sandwich for lunch every day, and I felt amazing. I'd have one in the morning for breakfast, one with my peanut butter sandwich at lunch. I was in great shape, and I felt great. They don't make them anymore. What's it called? Jolt?
What was your point of what you're saying?
You said drink an energy drink, and I said I used to feel really good.
What I'm saying is, we're old now. You can't just do that.
Now I have to go to the medicine man and get special teas. That's his specialty. Specialties. See what I did there? It's cute.
Okay, you know what? I want to talk about something.
And
then we have to end this podcast because it's the longest one we've ever done.
And I have to really paint.
You don't have to paint. You should be doing that during the week. Why are you doing it on the weekend?
Because I have a job during the week.
First of all, you have a part-time job during the week.
Well, it's difficult to homeschool and do the job and paint and have dinner on the table and do the house chores, and the dog's always peeing on the floor, so he can't be left alone downstairs or he gets uppity. So it's nice.
Do not make this
around.
podcast about making yourself look.
I just said I wanted to paint.
Don't start. You don't need to paint. You messed it up the first time.
Did not.
The first time, the paint in the boys' room was...
But it's fine now, and our room will be very fast. Anyway, you wanted to talk about something. Let's talk about it.
This is the boring part of the podcast. Feel free to turn it off at this point.
It's not about self-driving cars, is it?
No. But this is the engineer and the girl. And normally we're all fluffy. But at some point, you got to get serious. So I wrote an article about the disparity in technical authority. And I'll just boil it down.
I'm not willing to listen to this. This is for us. I always told you needed a podcast, but this is for the podcast that I'm not on and I don't listen to.
How many podcasts do you expect me to have?
I don't want to listen to this. Oh, I'm sorry.
So
can't you just cut me out? I'll go paint and you read whatever this is.
I'm not going to read anything.
I'm immediately disinterested.
So it's very simple. It's not complicated. It's a quotient. I shouldn't say quotient if I'm saying it simple. But it's basically saying that the more somebody... Basically, take the difference between a police officer and an IT guy, right? Mm-hmm. There's how much you know about, like how much of an expert you are in your field. Like a police officer knows more about the law than us. IT guy knows more about the computer than you, right? Mm-hmm. But somehow people feel like they are more competent when it comes to computers. Like, oh, I know some things. I installed the internet browser myself. Mm-hmm. And so they'll challenge the IT guy a little more, or they'll like look over, like check his hand a little bit more, look over his shoulder, or like a mechanic. Like some people like don't know anything and the mechanic can do whatever they want. But if they feel kind of like they're a little handy, then they'll start like throwing out lingo to him and seeing if this mechanic's trying to rip me off. But then you got like police or something like that where people don't even feel like they can challenge them at all. Mm-hmm. Not because the police officer is more of an expert than any of the other people they're challenging, but because they feel so inadequate. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know anything about the law, so I'll just take whatever they give me. So but that was my whole life as an IT guy. When I was an IT guy, is people always feel like they know a little bit of something. My father, oh my goodness, he's not expected to know anything. He's an older guy, but somehow people always feel, my mom, you've heard my mom.
But you do act like a classic IT guy.
Explain.
Like the second an IT question is asked, you are immediately irritated by our incompetence. And then you're very like, move, I'll do it. Or like, do this, do that. And then we're like, I don't know where the button is. I don't know what you're talking about. And you're just like, why don't you know where the button is? It's so easy. It's right there. Push the button. And then we're all panicking. Like, I don't know where the button is. And then you'll do the thing that I did like 92 times, but it'll work for you for some reason. Because, okay, here's another, I'll talk about that theory later.
No, please.
I have had this theory that, and I don't remember the exact, I had read some science about it at some point, but like we all give off a little bit of a magnetic field, you know?
Oh.
What? I just feel like, because I always have a problem with the technology. It like never works correctly for me. It never ever works for me, ever. And I feel like maybe some of us just are giving off a higher frequency field and it affects all like the Wi-Fi components of stuff. It's not a working theory. It's just nonsense because like nothing in this house works for me. Like Google never recognizes my voice. I have to say everything 32 times. I have to press every button 1,000,001 times. Nothing works. It's very frustrating. The computer will stop working and you'll walk in and touch it and it'll start working. The printer never works for me. And so that has been the theory that has comforted me.
So just so we're clear, you think that there's something coming from your body that affects the electronics you
I
use.
think that some people more than others, not specifically only me. Like, I don't think I have like some weird superpower. I'm not Magneto or anything, but it's a possibility.
So let me tell you this. Remember when everyone was freaking out about 5G and all the conspiracy theorists were like, oh, these 5G towers, and they're giving us cancer, they're brain wave towers. Like, people in the UK were worse with 5G because they were like burning down towers and stuff. Some conspiracy theory about how 5G's, I don't even think it was health. I think it was like worse than that, like their mind control or something. But like crazy conspiracy theories. But you also know about like how they were saying cell phones affect your brain, or cell phones affect fertility. And if you're a guy, don't
microwaves.
Don't
Microwaves, they would say. Don't stand too close to the microwave.
Okay, well I don't.
You never heard that?
No, I have. But that makes even less sense. But like they always said, like, don't put the phone in your belt because it's too close to your reproducing parts. That's as crazy as what you're saying.
I'm not asking people to believe it.
But you so how would that work?
Well, I don't know, because I read about it so long ago, and my memory is so poor, probably because of all the cell phone use that's affecting my brain.
So let me just say a disclaimer about like everything, the radio and the remote control for the fan and this and cell phones and Wi-Fi, they're all using the same thing, right? Radio waves. Like, the radio is using radio waves. The cell phone is using radio waves. They're all radio waves. They're on the same spectrum. Well, maybe that's not true, but they're all radio waves, and just the cell phone uses higher frequency. So like our Wi-Fi uses 5 gigahertz, 5,000 megahertz. A radio, some of the radio channels is what? 100, it goes up to 104.7 megahertz. Okay?
Okay.
So radio is 100 megahertz. Our Wi-Fi is 5,000, right?
Okay.
But they're the same type of wave, right?
Okay.
And then you have 5G. So everyone's speaking about 5G. They're fine with radio at 100 megahertz or AM at like 80. They're fine with their Wi-Fi at 2,400 megahertz up to 5,000 megahertz. 5G is less than that as far as energy. It's like 2,000 megahertz and less. So that's what frustrates me so much, is that people just don't think. Like, how? But what they told us for years, that it was, if you have a phone next to your head too much, it'll mess with your brain waves. Like, but the radio waves are still there, even if the phone isn't next to you. Like, the phone receives radio waves out of the air. The waves are there whether you're using a phone or not. So why do people assume that having a phone near you that receives those waves, the waves are still going through you? They're still here, even if you don't have a phone. If you don't own a phone, there's as many radio waves around you as if you did have a phone.
Right.
So it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with you.
What I'm saying is that, so now let's take that further. All right. Now, you have, the radio has a range. On the low end, the dial is, what's the lowest radio station you have? 88 point something?
Yeah.
How long has it been since you used the radio? Do you not remember any radio station?
88.
Sure. And what's on the top end?
103,
something.
4. No, 107 something.
Okay. The stations will not come through. The stations only work at 104.7. That station only, our Wi-Fi is only specifically that frequency.
Okay.
How specific would something coming out of your body need to be in order to interact with a specific piece of equipment?
I'm feeling like it messes with all the equipment, though.
But how about all the other radio waves in the air?
Explain to me why nothing works when I use it.
Because you're bad.
No, I press the same buttons.
No,
I do
you're
the
generally
same
bad.
stuff.
You're generally bad.
Like, why?
You're generally bad. I used to, no one will remember this, but Windows, you used to, and maybe you still can, have it where you could just single click things. And it'll be like a web link. And so you open up an icon, you single click. I used to always say it like that. My mother would always mash everything and triple click it. And then not only would it take longer for anything to happen, so she'd be confused and probably click it more, but also when it does open up, it opens up 5 times. And that's also something you would do. You are impatient. People expect me to be impatient. I am an impatient person, but I also know how computer works.
Let me give you an example. I was doing school planning for the boy. Oh, poop, I didn't do it this weekend. I have to still do that too. And I was printing out some worksheets, okay, using the printer. 2 pages printed, and then it just stopped working.
You're bad.
I didn't do anything different.
You're bad.
I wanted to print 5
you're
pages.
You're probably going from your laptop and you close the laptop.
No, the laptop was open. It printed 2 pages and then it just stopped. So then way later in the day, I finally got it to cancel those print jobs. It didn't want to. It kept saying it was still printing one of the pages that I had already printed. And I tried again. And I had 3 more pages to print. I printed 1 page and then it just stopped working. And that always happens to me.
I'll be honest. Ever since I started working with computers, like 2000, printing has never worked. Printing is the worst part of computers, and they cannot get the technology right. And if you cancel a print job, you better pray, because it will never cancel.
It never canceled.
It doesn't cancel. There's nothing you can do for love nor money.
But it also was not understanding that it had completed the printing.
I don't know what your complaint is, by the way.
But my complaint is that I couldn't print.
Here's what I think.
But it happens to me all the time. And then I see you and you're just like,
I'm going to tell you.
Printed 22
I'm going to tell you
pages.
the difference between you and me. I'm going to tell you why you have those many problems. I'm going to fix your problems right now. You are somehow more impatient than me. And you're bad at doing things.
Thanks. Yeah. So how does that fix my problems?
Because if you're more like me, your problems will go away.
Good to know.
You've lived with me for 11 years. Mm-hmm. And you have changed very little, actually. You are very stalwart. Like, we have the same arguments we've had 11 years ago. And I feel like you've also adopted your mother's points of views to compensate now that your mother isn't here to fight with me or to take your side. Because your mother would always proxy fight with me through you. Like, you guys would team up, like, and she would juice you up, and then you come back to me newly invigorated to fight another fight. So I feel like you're determined not to let that void exist. So you must have your own pep talks with yourself to, like, juice yourself up to take these stands against me.
How did this turn into this? We were talking about printing.
I don't know. This is about us.
This is us.
Did we talk about how much we regret the dog?
No, because I feel like that makes me look like a bad person.
I didn't want the dog.
That's not true. You wanted a dog. I wanted a cat.
I wanted a dog.
A hamster for the boy. I wanted a hamster. And you told me we could not get a hamster.
Let me just say to the people that I don't regret the dog. I saw the dog and I knew it was a big dog. And I'm like, big dog, smallish house. No offense yet.
Those things.
I said them to myself.
Why didn't you say them out loud to me? I said, look how cute this dog is. Do you want it?
I was supportive to you.
I said, do you want this dog?
I was supportive.
And you said, do whatever.
I didn't say, I said, get the dog.
For you? Yeah, you said get the dog.
Get the dog.
So that means you wanted it.
I do want it.
Because you would never get
I want it
the dog
you want
just
it.
because I wanted it.
Well, I wanted because you wanted it.
Because you certainly wouldn't
have. And then turns out you just wanted it because you thought I wanted it.
I wanted a hamster. You didn't want the hamster because I wanted it.
I'll tell you what we seem to have here. We have a failure to communicate. And by failure to communicate, what we have is a supportive husband and a wife that flip-flops like she's on the beach.
Never wanted a dog. My son wanted a hamster.
First of all, you had all the dogs.
I supported my son's desire
You brought
to have
your
a
dog
hamster,
here against my wishes when we got married. Remember that?
This podcast is a mess if we're both talking at the same time.
10 years ago, when we first lived here, you smuggled your dog, your giant,
kicked him out.
Your giant learning disabled, mange covered.
You kicked me
chewing holes,
and my dog out
chewing
the house.
holes in his fur dog. She smuggled him over here and had him on my couch, ladies and gentlemen. And this lady is now not the dog lady. Okay, I put up with your dogs. For how long?
You did not put up my dogs. You kicked him out of the house, and you told me you liked that dog so much you go with him.
I lived with your dogs.
That's because you lived at my parents' house, where you abandoned them to.
What?
What?
So I abandoned them.
You told me I couldn't take the dog with me.
They were not your dogs. You didn't take care of them. Your mother took care of them.
Chester was my dog.
But you didn't take care of him.
Anyway, that's not the point. I didn't want a dog because I knew I would have to do too much work. And I didn't want to do the work. I wanted a hamster.
And then you brought home a dog.
I wanted a hamster.
A 2-month-old dog.
You told me that the boy could not get a hamster until you got a dog. And I wanted the boy to get a hamster.
So now comes the rub. You got this giant floof dog just so he could get a hamster. And now it wasn't worth it.
But you're the one that wanted a dog.
I wanted a dog.
Your sister got a dog, and you moaned and groaned about how you were so jealous.
I always wanted a dog.
I know.
And
so I saw the opportunity to get a free, adorable dog.
I will tell you that this dog is delightful.
He's cute. He's great. He's very young, so he's
which
is not
a downside. He is delightful.
He's just a lot of work.
The problem is the person who wanted the dog is now butthurt about it.
So we have a 3-month-old dog for sale. Anybody who would like this dog, feel free to contact us because I got it as a gift from my husband.
A gift? You did not get it as a gift.
He hates dogs.
You were personally excited about that.
I was excited because I wanted you.
You should have said that.
I was excited for you.
I thought you had something.
You always tell me I'm not excited enough and I'm so curmudgeon-y and
I've never said
cranky.
that.
And why can't I be more happy? Smile more.
Smile more. Yes. I've never said smile more.
For you. And then you were even more butthurt because I said I wish the dog's head was rounder. And you practically cried a puddle.
Because I'm so sad that you wanted this dog and now you completely you're over this dog immediately after getting him. It's been a podcast. Hillary's a bad person. We've covered it. Thanks for watching, listening. So as of the last podcast, we weren't yet on iTunes. So now the podcast is everywhere. So please subscribe to it wherever you find your podcasts. If you're listening to the audio, apologies. Last time is my camera still on? With no pop-ups on the screen or no windows? Yeah. Okay. Apologies. Last podcast, episode 4, the video broke. We have nice phones, but they're not as good as cameras. So.
And I apologize for episode 5. It was just a lot of domestic disputes. That's what you should call this one.
I actually I'm ignoring that statement. I put up a camera, a backup camera as well. So we're covered. I'm not having any mess. And so, yes, thank you for watching. Go to the video version of the podcast. It will be out a couple days later. The audio versions will be out on Mondays. And the video versions will be out on Wednesdays. And so if there's any visual element to it, you can go there. And I'll also put references to some of the things we talk about on there. So yeah, come over to the YouTube channel. It's at mrgrayarea.com, mrgrayarea.com. Or you can search Mr. Gray Area on YouTube. And subscribe there, even if you typically listen to the audio version. And yeah, it's a good time. We're going to keep doing this. It's usually fun, and at worst, it's revealing.
Yeah. It's a podcast nonetheless.
And we'll keep going for at least
2 more weeks.
Yeah. And we'll see. And we appreciate.
I'll update everyone on what the herbal medicine man has to say.
I appreciate the well-wishers and the people who like the podcast. Don't forget to leave a review if that is you. Mm-hmm. iTunes has reviews.
Please make them nice.
Yeah, you can rate 5 stars on iTunes, and that's the best way to help us. I can't imagine ever having any ads, and so there's nothing you can do financially for us, but you can make us feel good. The dog
It's great. I love him. I'm a dog person.
probably tearing stuff up in there.
Their therapy's in the bathroom. The toilet paper. Oh man. Well, thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching, listening. You were not on it at all. You were not on it at all. You tell me he's not a pain in the butt. Okay? You saw that.